Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving deep into something I bet you're already thinking about a lot.
Relationships.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we're not doing the usual how to find the one kind of thing.
Right.
We've got research and articles, even some opinions from experts that really challenge that whole happily ever after fairy tale.
So,
Are you ready to rethink what a successful relationship really looks like?
I think so, yeah.
Well, one thing that was really fascinating to me was
Right.
how much these sources really emphasize personal growth
Yeah.
as like a core element of what makes a relationship successful.
It's almost like having the relationship itself as a tool
Yeah.
to become like better versions of yourselves.
Yeah, it's not just about finding a partner anymore, right?
Right.
It's about finding someone who is going to challenge you to grow
Mm.
and evolve as a person
Yeah.
and as a couple.
Exactly.
So I feel like that shift
Yeah.
away from just like finding the one and
Yeah.
focusing on growth is...
That seems to be like a very
Yeah.
defining characteristic of this modern perspective on relationships.
For sure. Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit.
Okay.
And I want to start with this idea of moving beyond the good marriage myth.
Okay.
There was an article in Relevant magazine that really caught my eye.
Okay.
And they're arguing that focusing on achieving that good marriage can actually be counterproductive.
You know, it's like picking a destination,
Right.
but not enjoying the journey at all.
Yeah.
Or worse,
Uh-huh.
picking a destination that might not even be right for you.
Right.
Just because that's what you're supposed to do.
Totally.
Yeah.
Which is where this whole idea of
Yeah.
funeral-worthy relationships comes in.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I have.
It was coined by Sean Johnson.
Okay.
He's a former VC turned relationship coach.
Interesting.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's a pretty intense way to put it, but
Uh-huh.
it really makes you think.
Yeah, I think it's a powerful way to change your perspective
Uh-huh.
on what really matters in your relationships.
Yeah.
It's not about like appearances or
Yeah.
checking off boxes.
Mm-hmm.
It's about building something so meaningful.
Yeah.
It would leave a lasting impact on the people around you.
For sure. For sure. So if we shift away from that good marriage goal,
Okay.
how do these sources define success in a relationship?
Well, there's definitely a theme.
Okay.
It's a move away from external milestones
Okay.
and towards like internal growth
Mm-hmm.
and connection.
Gotcha.
It's all about setting personal goals.
Right.
And also like shared goals
Yeah.
that allow for individual development, but also strengthen that partnership.
So it's like finding that sweet spot between me and we,
Yeah, right.
where you're nurturing your own individuality,
Yeah.
but also fostering that strong connection
Yeah.
with your partner.
Exactly.
So this leads us to an interesting point that a lot of sources highlight,
Okay.
which is this idea that individual growth fuels relationship growth. And that might seem counterintuitive.
It does it first. Yeah.
But a lot of these sources argue that prioritizing your own development
Yeah.
can actually breathe new life into the relationship.
It makes sense when you think about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you each come to the table
Yeah.
with your own unique experiences
Yeah,
and
yeah.
perspectives,
Right.
which makes it more dynamic
Exactly.
and just more interesting.
And the benefits kind of go beyond just that, like
Okay.
just making things interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They point to like better communication,
Okay.
greater emotional resilience,
Yeah.
and even like increased relationship satisfaction.
So how do you encourage that individual growth
Well,
within a relationship?
It's all about balance
Okay.
and mutual support,
Okay.
like encouraging each other's interests.
Even if they're different.
Even if they're different,
Right.
providing feedback,
Uh-huh.
setting goals, both individually and as a couple.
Yeah, so it's like being each other's biggest cheerleader, but also giving each other space
Right.
to explore their own passions.
Exactly.
That makes me think about how this is playing out in the real world.
Yeah.
And it seems like modern couples are challenging traditional marriage expectations.
It seems like it. Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Are the old rules of relationships being thrown out the window?
I think so.
Okay.
A lot of couples are delaying marriage.
Hmm.
They're prioritizing their own growth
Yeah.
and self-discovery
Mm-hmm.
before they even think about settling down,
Okay.
choosing partners based on values
Mm-hmm.
rather than like societal pressure.
Interesting.
They're rewriting the whole script
Yeah.
on what marriage should look like.
So it's not about rushing to the altar.
No, not at all.
It's about building that solid foundation
Yeah.
as individuals
As a couple.
and as a couple
Right.
before deciding if marriage is even
Right.
the right fit for you.
Exactly.
And it's interesting, this also kind of affects
Yeah.
how couples view independence. within their partnership.
It's not about like merging into one unit anymore.
Right.
It's more about two people choosing to walk a path together
Yeah.
while maintaining their own identity.
Which brings us to this fascinating concept, which
Okay.
is this idea that marriage, the starting line, not the finish line. And that really challenges
It does.
that happily ever after narrative.
Yeah, it really does.
Dr. David Schnarch, in his book Passionate Marriage, describes marriage as a human growth machine.
Wow. Right. That's pretty powerful.
That's powerful imagery.
Yeah.
So what does he mean by that?
He says that commitment isn't about like achieving some state of happiness.
Right.
It's about embarking on like
Okay.
a continuous journey
Yeah.
of personal development
Yeah.
and like mutual development.
So it's not about finding someone who completes you.
Oh,
It's about finding someone who challenges you
right.
and supports you
Yeah.
as you both evolve and grow
As you change.
throughout your
I
lives.
could say-
And that growth
Yeah.
isn't always easy.
Oh, absolutely not.
Right. A lot of these sources point to the first year of marriage
Like,
as being particularly challenging
Oh, yeah.
as couples.
Yeah. You're blending two lives.
Yeah.
Two sets of habits.
New sets of habits,
Different perspectives.
totally different perspectives.
Bound to be some bumps along the way.
Yeah, and expectations too,
Yeah,
right? Of course, you have your own expectations going in.
Definitely.
But it sounds like if those challenges are approached
Yeah.
with open communication
Yeah.
and a willingness to adapt, they can actually strengthen the relationship.
They really can.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're seeing those bumps in the road as opportunities to learn and grow,
Exactly.
both individually
Individually and as a couple.
and as a couple.
And as that relationship matures.
Okay.
The sources talk about an enlightenment phase.
Where you start to see your partner more realistically, flaws and all. So the honeymoon phase fades a little bit,
Yeah.
and you're left with this more,
Like a more authentic view.
yeah,
Yeah.
which could be challenging, but also pretty liberating,
It could. Yeah.
right? And this acceptance, this willingness to see and love your partner through those ups and downs seems to be a key theme in building a lasting relationship beyond I do.
That's right.
So it's not just about the wedding day.
It's about the decades.
It's about what comes next.
Yeah, that follow.
For sure.
Right.
And the Gottman Institute,
Oh, yeah.
which has done so much research on marital stability,
Right.
says the point of marriage is not happiness. The point of marriage is growth.
Wow.
And that's such a bold statement
It is.
because it challenges that idea that marriage should just be bliss all the time.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's suggesting that marriage provides like a framework
Right.
for personal development.
Yeah.
A space where you can confront your own
Limitations. Yeah.
and evolve into a better person.
Become a better version of yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And that growth, that evolution impacts the relationship itself too,
Yeah.
right? As you navigate
You have to.
different life stages together.
And challenges.
And challenges,
Yeah.
it's about adapting and evolving together,
Yeah.
supporting each other
Uh-huh.
through all the ups and downs.
Exactly.
And the sources offer some really practical advice
Oh, good.
on how to make that happen.
Okay.
They say encourage individual interests,
Yeah.
provide emotional support during challenges, and celebrate each other's achievements. So you're creating that safe space for each other to
Right.
grow and change
Yeah.
while also nurturing that initial connection that brought you together.
Right.
And it seems like these sources are encouraging us to think about relationships less as a destination
Right.
and more as this ongoing process of nurturing thriving partnership.
Absolutely.
And
These
legally.
principles apply to all relationships.
It does.
Not just marriages.
Right.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you're married or not.
Mm-hmm.
These principles of open communication,
Yeah.
mutual support, and continuous growth are essential for any successful relationship.
I think so.
So you're creating this dynamic partnership that's always evolving,
That can weather the storms
right?
and celebrate the sunshine.
That can weather the storm and celebrate the sunshine together.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a lot of work,
It is.
but also incredibly rewarding.
It's so rewarding.
So it's not about finding the perfect person
No.
or achieving some fairy tale ending.
Right.
It's about choosing to show up
Every single day,
for each other
day after day.
and growing together
Yeah.
through it all.
And growing together
Yeah.
through the challenges and the triumphs.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the heart of what these sources are trying to tell us. Foundations of lasting love.
Interesting.
What are the secrets to building a love that lasts?
What are the secrets?
That's what we'll explore next time.
Okay.
But before we go, what's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from this first part?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that relationships today are all about growth, both as individuals and as a couple.
Gotcha.
It's not about finding a finished product.
Right.
It's more about going on a journey of evolution together.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about how to make that happen.
Okay.
What can you actually do to cultivate a relationship that thrives on that growth?
Married or not?
One thing that really stood out to me was this emphasis on communication.
Okay.
Like really clear communication. Several sources suggested scheduling regular check-ins.
Interesting.
Yeah, like bi-weekly or even monthly meetings.
Okay.
Just to address concerns and make sure you're both on the same page.
It's almost like having a business meeting for your relationship.
Yeah, kind of.
But in a good way.
But in a good way.
Right.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off of those big conversations because you're always checking in and you can address things before they become major issues.
Exactly. You're being proactive and intentional about your communication.
So it's not just waiting till things explode. You're constantly working on it.
Yeah. And speaking of being intentional,
developing
a shared vision for your future is also super important.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you need to know where you're going to get there together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That vision can help guide you through challenges and help you celebrate successes.
As a team.
Yeah, as a team.
It's not just about setting goals, though.
No, it's also about being flexible.
Okay.
And adaptable.
Yeah. Life rarely goes according to plan.
No, it doesn't.
Right.
And relationships have to be able to bend without breaking.
Yeah. You got to be nimble.
Yeah.
And adjust course when you need to, but still keep that shared vision in mind.
Exactly.
And I imagine that adaptability extends to supporting each other's growth, too.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's all about finding that sweet spot between, pursuing your own interests, your passions, and supporting your partner in doing the same.
Back to that me and we.
Yeah.
You can't have a strong we without two strong me's.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
The sources also encourage, creating space for individual learning and exploration.
Okay.
While also staying connected as a couple.
And that takes some serious listening skills.
It does. Being able to really hear and understand your partner's perspective.
Even if it's different from your own.
Yeah, even if you don't agree.
This is where it gets tough.
This is the tough part.
Right.
Active listening and empathy are essential for navigating all the complexities of a relationship.
Okay.
That's based on growth.
So you're building this bridge of understanding.
I like that.
Right, between these two different worlds.
That's a great analogy.
One really interesting concept that came up was this idea of implementing quarterly partner reviews.
Yeah.
Or QPRs.
QPRs, yeah.
QPRs. I've never heard of this.
Have you not?
No.
Okay, well, it's basically like a performance review.
Oh, okay.
But for your relationship.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're assessing the health, the direction of your partnership.
Right.
Providing feedback.
Celebrating successes. Identifying areas for improvement.
It's a dedicated time to have those sometimes difficult.
Right.
But very necessary.
They're necessary.
Conversations about the relationship.
It takes the pressure off.
Right.
Trying to squeeze it into everyday life.
Totally.
Yeah, when you're busy and stressed.
Exactly.
So it creates this safe space for honest reflection.
Okay.
And dialogue.
Gotcha.
Both partners feel heard and understood.
And speaking of honesty.
Oh, yeah.
Transparency was another big one.
Oh, huge.
That came up again and again.
It makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Being open and vulnerable with each other about your challenges.
Your successes.
Your successes.
Your future plans.
Your future plans.
Everything.
So you're cultivating trust through transparency. You're both making informed decisions about the relationship.
You have a sense of shared ownership.
Okay. So you're being willing to let your guard down a little bit.
Yeah.
Share your hopes and fears.
Your dreams.
Your dreams and trusting that your partner will hold that vulnerability with care.
Exactly.
And it's not all serious conversation.
It's not all serious.
And self-reflection.
You got to celebrate the wins.
Right. What good is a journey if you don't stop and enjoy it?
Appreciate the scenery. along the way.
So these sources emphasize
celebrating each other's wins.
Yeah.
Big or small.
It's like giving each other a high five as you're going.
Recognizing the effort and progress you're both making.
Of course.
Yeah.
No journey is without a few bumps. It's bumps in the road.
Along the way.
Learning to resolve conflicts is a very important skill.
Yeah. For any couple.
For any couple.
That wants to go the distance.
And this is where things get tricky.
It's easier said than done.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to talk about effective communication in theory. But
when you're feeling hurt or angry,
it's a whole different ball game.
It's a whole different story.
Totally different story.
So
they suggest, focusing on finding solutions that work for both of you.
Okay.
Rather than getting caught up in blame or defensiveness.
So you're approaching the conflict as a team.
Yes.
Trying to find a resolution.
That benefits both of you.
That benefits both of you.
You're on the same side.
You're on the same side.
Even when you disagree.
Even when you disagree, sometimes it helps.
It does.
To take a break before you try and hash things out.
Yeah, right.
Give yourself some space.
To process those emotions.
Exactly.
And then when you're ready to talk, active listening, and try to understand where your partner is coming from.
And sometimes just acknowledging each other's feelings and agreeing to disagree is enough.
Yeah.
You don't always have to have a resolution.
Yeah. So it's more about validating each other's experiences.
Sometimes it is.
Than finding the right answer.
Right.
And all of this, the communication, the conflict resolution, the shared vision.
The adaptability.
The adaptability.
Right. This all contributes
to building a strong foundation. For a lasting partnership.
So it's not just about the big dramatic moment.
No, it's about the little things.
It's the everyday stuff.
Yeah.
The small gestures.
Yeah, the day-to-day interactions.
That weave the fabric of that strong relationship. Yeah. And the sources highlight the importance of investing in relationship-building activities outside of your usual routines.
Outside of the norm.
Right.
Yeah.
Like date nights, weekend getaways, even just cuddling up and watching a movie.
Exactly.
Right.
All those shared experiences create memories, foster that connection, and remind you why you're together in the first place. So easy to let those slip away.
It is.
In the busyness of life.
Yeah.
But they're so essential.
They are.
For keeping that spark alive.
It's about being intentional.
Yeah.
About spending time together.
That doesn't have to be some elaborate, expensive thing.
No, it's the thought that counts.
Right.
Making that conscious choice.
It's making the choice.
To prioritize your relationship.
To prioritize the relationship.
Yeah.
And it seems like that intentionality, that conscious choice to invest.
Right.
Is at the core building foundations of lasting love.
It is.
And we've explored a lot of different aspects of healthy relationships.
Yeah.
But now we're getting to the heart.
The core.
Of what truly makes love endure.
What makes love last.
So tell me.
Yeah.
What are those secrets to building a love that lasts?
Well, it's not about those big gestures.
Okay.
Or like romantic cliches. It's really about those everyday acts of kindness. The small moments of connection.
Okay.
And a shared commitment to building something meaningful.
Less about finding the one.
Right.
More about becoming the one for each other.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Right.
The sources highlight some key elements.
Okay.
Goodwill.
Okay.
Compassion.
Okay.
Effective communication. Maintaining your own identities.
Yeah.
Quality time together.
Okay.
Physical intimacy.
Okay.
Affection.
That's a big list.
It is a pretty big list.
And it's not all the warm and fuzzy stuff.
It's not all warm and fuzzy.
Right.
There's also...
Like mutual respect.
Mutual respect, yeah.
Flexibility.
Trust, shared goals.
Your goals.
It's important.
It's the foundation.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to respect each other. You got to trust each other.
You got to have those shared values.
Yeah. And you got to be willing to see the best in each other, even when things get tough.
Even when it's hard, and work together to overcome challenges. Exactly.
So it's not about finding a relationship that's free of conflict.
Free of argument.
Or disagreement.
Yeah, conflict is going to happen.
Conflict is inevitable.
It's going to happen.
It's how you approach it.
Exactly.
That determines whether it breaks you or brings you closer.
Or brings you closer.
And that brings us back to what we talked about earlier.
Communication.
Communication.
Listening.
Active listening.
Empathy. empathy.
All so important.
It is so important.
For navigating conflict.
Yeah.
In a healthy way.
In a way that strengthens the relationship.
Yes.
Not weakens it.
Exactly.
Some skills are important.
They are.
Even outside of conflict.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Outside of arguments.
They're the foundation for building
Yeah.
that strong, resilient connection.
Right.
That can get you through anything.
Absolutely.
So you're weaving those practices into your everyday interactions. It's not something you just pull out. When there's a problem,
It's got to be constant.
it's got to be who you are as a couple.
Yeah.
It requires effort.
It does.
It requires commitment.
To show up every day.
To show up.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard, because
that's what love is.
That's what it's about.
It's about making that choice.
It's making the choice to nurture the relationship.
Yeah.
Even when
it would be easier.
It's easier to walk away. And that choice, that commitment is what fuels those foundations of lasting love.
That's what it's all about.
And we'll explore that further next time.
Okay.
But what are some specific actions that couples can take to actually cultivate foundations?
That's a good question.
Stay tuned to find out. Okay, we are back and ready to unpack these foundations of lasting love.
Let's do it.
We've talked about growth and communication and being adaptable.
Right.
But what are the actual building blocks?
Yeah, what are the things of a relationship?
You can actually do...
Yeah, that can go the distance.
It's funny.
Yeah.
How much these sources focus on really simple things. It's not about grand gestures or anything.
Okay.
It's really about those everyday moments of connection and kindness.
So like goodwill and compassion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Approaching your partner with understanding and kindness.
Yeah.
Even when you're disagreeing.
Even when you disagree.
Yeah, you're not trying to win an argument.
Right.
You're trying to understand their perspective. It's about creating that safe space where you both feel valued and supported.
Yeah.
Even when you mess up.
And we all mess up.
Oh, yeah, we're all human.
Right.
We make mistakes.
And that feeling of safety allows for.
Right. It creates space for
that open and honest communication.
Exactly.
Which a lot of these sources talk about.
All the sources mention that.
Right.
It's so important.
Yeah, and it goes beyond just talking.
It does. Right.
You got to really listen.
You have to really listen.
Yeah. Pay attention to body language.
Body language.
And be present.
Be present emotionally.
Yeah, so you're creating that two-way street.
Exactly.
Right.
Where both partners feel heard.
Heard and understood.
And understood, not just lectured to.
Not just lectured to. And it's not just about sharing your own feelings.
Oh, it's also about being open to hearing your partner's feelings.
Yeah, even when they're difficult.
Especially when it's hard to hear.
So how do you cultivate that empathy?
That's the tough one.
Especially in those heated moments.
When you're in it.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
The sources suggest practicing active listening.
So putting your ego aside.
Yeah, even if it's just for a second.
Yeah.
Try to see things from their point of view.
Which I guess goes back to this idea of maintaining your own identities.
Yeah. Right. You can't really understand their perspective if you're trying to merge into one.
Yeah, you're trying to be one person. You got to have two separate people.
And these sources say that the happiest couples
are
the ones that understand the importance of preserving their own interests.
Their own friendships.
Their own friendships.
Their own growth.
Yeah.
Outside the relationship.
So it's recognizing that you are two whole people choosing to share a journey.
I like that.
Not trying to become one.
It's like
indistinguishable being.
Two colors mixing on a canvas.
To create something.
Colored to the relationship.
Even more beautiful.
More vibrant.
Yeah.
More interesting.
Exactly.
And you can't create a beautiful painting if you're constantly on top of each other.
You need space.
Right.
So it's also important to carve out quality time together.
Date nights.
Weekend
getaway.
Vacations.
Even just cuddling up. Yeah, just watching a movie.
On the couch.
Being intentional.
Yeah.
About spending time together.
So easy to let that slip away.
It is.
When life gets busy.
Yeah. It's important to make it a priority.
Yeah. And those moments of connection.
Those shared experiences.
Shared experiences often involve
Yeah.
physical intimacy and affection.
Of course.
And it goes beyond.
It does.
Just the sexual intimacy.
It's about the little things.
Right.
Holding hands.
Holding hands.
Hugging. Even compliment. Just those little acts of affection.
Yeah, it's like you're speaking the language of love.
Yeah.
Through touch and words.
Through those little gestures.
And they can have a big impact.
They do.
On how loved and appreciated you feel.
Right. It's a reminder to be mindful of how you're expressing your love.
And that your partner can receive that.
Exactly.
Speaking of feeling valued.
Oh, yeah.
The sources also talk about mutual respect.
It seems obvious.
It does seem obvious.
But it's easy to take each other for granted.
It is.
When you've been together for a long time.
You get so used to them.
Yeah. You forget to acknowledge the good stuff.
The little things that make them special.
Exactly.
The research shows, though.
It does.
That couples that express gratitude and acknowledge each other's efforts are much happier.
So notice those things.
Yeah.
The big things and the little things.
And say thank you.
Yeah. Say thank you.
Even for the things that maybe seem mundane or expected.
Yeah, even for the dishes.
Even for the dishes.
Exactly.
So it's about making that effort to see the good.
See the good in your partner.
Acknowledge their contributions.
Yes.
Express gratitude for having them.
Exactly.
And that appreciation.
Yeah.
And that respect for each other's individuality ties into this next foundation.
Okay.
Which is
flexibility.
Flexibility.
Adaptability, yeah.
Being able to bend without breaking.
Right, to go with the flow.
Yeah. Go with the flow, adjust when circumstances change.
Happy couples work together.
Right.
Yeah, they're a team.
They work together to find solutions.
They don't blame each other.
They're willing to compromise.
Right.
Adjust expectations.
Life is unpredictable.
Life is unpredictable.
Things happen.
Things happen.
You got to really bit.
So being nimble.
Nimble, yeah.
Remembering that you're on the same team.
On the same side.
Right.
Yeah.
And being willing to adjust course.
But
not losing sight of that shared vision.
Exactly.
And all that takes.
That takes trust.
Trust and honesty.
It does. You have to feel safe. Being vulnerable.
To share those doubts and fears.
Yeah, knowing they'll be there for you.
Knowing they'll be there.
No matter what.
No matter what. And the sources really emphasize that.
Yeah.
Couples that are open about their thoughts and feelings.
And experiences.
Create that strong bond of trust.
Yeah, it allows for a deeper connection.
Deeper connection.
Everyone feels more secure.
So let your guard down a little bit.
Yeah.
Share your authentic self.
Yeah.
And know they'll
hold that vulnerability.
Handle it with care.
Yeah, with care.
And that vulnerability.
That's where true intimacy comes from.
Yeah.
It's the foundation.
It is.
That can really last.
And speaking of lasting love, I imagine that having shared goals and values plays a big role too.
It does. Wow. Happy couples.
Yeah.
They create a shared vision for the future.
So individual goals are important.
They are, but you also got to have that shared vision.
You got to have that shared vision so you can make decisions together.
Right.
Navigate challenges together.
And celebrate successes together.
It's like having that shared map.
Yeah. Right.
Guiding you. That guides you towards that destination.
Even if you take different paths to get there.
You want to reach together.
Yeah.
Even if you take different paths. Yeah. And that's not a one-time conversation.
No, it's got to be ongoing.
Right.
You got to check in.
You got to check in.
Make sure you're still on the same page.
Make sure you're on the same page.
And adjust.
And adjust course as needed.
Yeah.
So it's this dynamic process, not a set of rules.
Well,
it takes that communication.
That's constant communication.
That willingness to listen and adapt.
Exactly.
Which brings us to what might be the most important part of all of this.
What that?
Lasting love takes effort.
It does.
And commitment.
Constant effort.
It's not passive.
No.
It's an active choice.
You choose it.
You choose it every single day.
Every day.
To nurture that connection.
To communicate.
To support each other.
To support each other.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard.
Yeah.
It's not about finding
the perfect relationship.
The perfect relationship. It's about creating one.
Creating it together.
Every single day.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
That's what makes it so special.
It's not about the destination.
Right.
It's about the journey.
It's all about the journey.
With all its ups and downs.
The twists and turns.
Knowing that you have each other's backs.
That's what matters.
We've covered so much in this deep dive.
So much information.
About love and relationships.
About love.
What's the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with?
If I had to pick just one thing,
it
would be this.
Okay.
Love is a verb, not a noun.
Yeah.
It's not something you find. It's something you do.
It's an action.
Yeah, it's a choice.
A choice you make every day.
To nurture the connection.
To nurture the connection.
To communicate openly.
To communicate.
To support each other's growth.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love is a verb.
It's about taking action.
Taking action.
Making the effort.
Making the effort, showing up.
Showing up every day.
Even when it's hard.
Even when you don't want to.
Even when you don't want to. And it's in those moments,
like
those little acts of love.
Yeah, the little things.
That's where that true intimacy is built.
That's where it all starts.
That's where it starts.
Yeah.
And for our listeners who might be feeling a little overwhelmed.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. Yeah. With all this talk of effort and commitment.
What can they do today?
Yeah, what's one small thing?
A small action.
They can do.
To start nurturing a more loving relationship.
To get started.
Start with appreciation.
Okay.
Take a moment today to tell your partner how grateful you are.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be anything big. Just a thank you.
Yeah.
For something they do every day.
Okay.
Or a note.
Just
saying you appreciate them.
Yeah.
For who they are.
Simple, but powerful.
It really is.
Sometimes those small gestures mean the most.
It's about focusing on what you have.
Yeah.
Not what's missing.
Appreciating the good. And that one small act could be the spark that ignites a deeper connection.
It could be.
And that's what this whole deep dive has been about, right?
That's what it's all about.
It's rediscovering the joy of love.
The beauty of connection.
And learning how to cultivate a relationship that nourishes us.
That makes you a better person.
That makes us better people.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay.
If marriage or any committed relationship is this journey of growth,
right,
like these sources say,
like we've been talking about,
what growth goals would you set for your relationship in the coming year?
What a great question.
What areas do you want to cultivate?
Yeah.
What challenges do you want to overcome?
Or do you want to achieve together?
What new heights of love and connection do you want to reach?
I love that.
Have those conversations.
Talk to each other.
Talk to each other.
And embark on that journey of growth together.
Because that's what love is about, right?
That's what it's all about.
Growing and evolving.
Supporting each other.
Supporting each other.
Creating a love that lasts.
Creating a love that lasts.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
It was fun.
On this deep dive.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Keep exploring, keep connecting.
And keep loving fiercely.
See you next time.